are going live again. It's another Wednesday night, and we are back together. It's really nice to see everybody because it's freezing, and all I want to do is talk Jane Austen and books. It's like the perfect night to get cozy and talk Jane Austen. If you haven't joined us before, welcome. My name is Melissa. I am the community manager for the Jane Austen Literacy Foundation, and I am joined tonight by my fabulous co-hosts. We have Mindy and we have Marigold. We're going to share a little bit about what we're reading this week. So I'll let you guys kind of introduce it and know who is who. And then let us know what you've been reading. If it's multiple books, share them all. Audiobooks, ebooks, we love all the books. So let us know. Go ahead, Marigold, if you want to kick us off this evening with what you've been reading for the week.
Well, I'm Marigold, and I just finished the First Impressions. I am also halfway through Persuasion, and I just started The Lost Bookshop.
Oh, I've heard so many good things about that. Are you loving the intro so far?
It's very interesting. It's not what I expected. I have a theme this year. I want to try like anything that has books or library in the cover, like the theme.
Yeah.
So that was my kind of like challenge for myself this year to do like one book a month that has something to do with the library or bookshop.
I love that. There's so many. You're not going to run out at all.
No. I think I compiled the list, so it'll be interesting.
Perfect. And Mindy, we'll kick it over to you. What are you reading so far this week?
Well, hi, everybody. I'm Mindy, and I'm so glad to be here tonight in Florida. I actually have my sweatshirt on this evening because the temperature's dipped to it's 43 right now. So for us, it's just chilly. I know that's nothing compared to what you all are experiencing, but for me, it just feels like a completely different place. Right now, I am working. I finished First Impressions over the weekend as well. So I am very excited for a couple of weeks when we'll have our group chat about that. But I'm working my way through Emma, and I am also reading Huckleberry Finn with my son.
Oh, that was random. Wasn't going to say Huckleberry Finn. And how is it so far?
Well, I gotta tell you, I read Huck Finn when I was young, about my son's age, and there are things I thought I remembered, and now I'm finding that I really only took a little bit of it away with me because everything feels new. So this is why I reread. I say this all the time. This is why I reread, because I find something new with every deep dive.
Absolutely. I love that. Well, I hope you're staying warm and cozy. I know it is cold for you there. It was -4 for the actual temperature this morning here, so we didn't have school today. Marigold, I'm sure it was pretty cold for you guys as well up there.
Yes, when I got in the car, I believe it was 2 degrees.
Yeah. It's been pretty brutally cold, which is just more of an excuse to read, which is what my son did for his day off and stayed cozy.
Ooh, what's he reading, just out of curiosity?
He is really into manga right now, so I can't tell you exactly which ones it is, but he just did a big birthday shop, and he was very excited and got some ones that he had been waiting to come out. And then he is actually going to start reading Manslaughter Park for us and let us know how it is, and it might make its way into a book club pick. It's a series, and it's YA series, which I thought might be kind of fun and different for us to explore the community. I don't remember the titles for each one, but they're kind of like a romance / cozy mystery-ish take on each of Austen's novels. And I think this is the third in the series. We stumbled upon it at the library, and I was like, oh, this looks really interesting for maybe the community to read. And he said, well, I could read it for you and let you know if it's any good. And I said, have at it.
Oh, nice.
So we'll see if that one makes it into our reading for the year with Austen. And I am reading Yin Yang's Love Song, which is it's been a busy week, so I'm not reading through it as quickly as I typically like, but I'm hoping tonight to get to spend a little time reading it. She is a Chinese medicine practitioner and comes from many generations that have practiced, and he is a child prodigy celloist, and she believes that there's a curse in their family around any of the women finding love, and we'll see where it goes, but it seemed like a really interesting premise, and I feel like I'm already learning about different herbs and flowers as I'm reading the book, which is one of the things that I love, because you can always like find little bits to then go off on a tangent to be exploring on your own. All right, so shall we get into some Austen-related topics for the evening? We have, let me turn it off here. So a couple things that we're going to do tonight. We're going to talk about Austen's leading women and just kind of for fun, rank them as we enjoy them. And anybody watching now or later, please feel free to give us your rankings of who are your favorites. I think it'll be fun to see. I know everyone's going to be very different, but there's a few I think that are going to make it on the top of most people's lists, but it'll be fun to see how that goes. And then the new trailer dropped for Miss Austen, and that went live, I believe it was yesterday. So we're going to do a kind of first time watch through of that together, and then we'll maybe watch it through again and chat about what we're seeing and what to expect from that when it releases. So shall we start with our gorgeous slides again made by Mindy for us? Thank you, Mindy. Oops, let me get us back to slide one here. So I had to say, Mindy messaged ahead of time and said, do you guys have any preferences for who I put for the characters? And we said, no, go for it. So I think it's going to be fun to see who you gave us as visual representation of each one of the characters. That alone, it could be controversial for some people. So we are going to start out with the lovely Elizabeth Bennet from Pride and Prejudice. Where did you guys rank Elizabeth in your list of Austen's leading women?
Go ahead, Marigold.
She's actually my favorite. Out of all of them, I kind of feel like it's everybody says that. It's like, oh, everybody loves it. But I appreciate the wit in the book so much and her cleverness that she's always just my fall-to favorite character.
Absolutely. And how about you, Mindy?
I'm with you. She's my favorite as well. Most of the time, if people ask me my overall favorite character in all of literature, she's the response that I give. Sometimes I mix it up a little bit and throw in a different character from Pride and Prejudice, but I won't talk about that just yet because we're focusing on the females. But I do adore Elizabeth Bennet's wit, but also I love the way that she changes from the beginning of the book to the end of the book. And I can't remember which group function it was I went to, but I went to a webinar or watched a webinar recently, and they talked about how with Elizabeth in the beginning, even though she's a little bit brighter than Lydia or her mother, she still is very much taken in by people like Wickham, who are charming and good looking and so on and so forth. And she does have those prejudices so early. But as she gets older and as she learns more about herself and the world, she does change. And I love that.
That's such a great point. She is I think has such a great story arc of what we want to see in characters, that they learn and they grow and they change for the better over time. Because I think often, we talk about you want to see yourself in the main characters and think, I'm like that. And I think a lot of us, we hope that we're witty and that we're open to change and that we will reflect on our mistakes as Elizabeth does and become a better person after them and not stay stuck in our own ideologies and grow as we move through life. And she has a lot to aspire to, I think, in her character qualities.
Where did you put her on the list, Melissa?
I had her at number one also. It's really hard to just not put Elizabeth up there at the top. So I think we're all in agreement. Elizabeth still reigns as number one. Next we have Emma Woodhouse from Emma, obviously. Where did she rank for you guys in lists? I feel like we're now going to start maybe seeing some variation in where characters land.
She's my number three. Number three on the list. I have, especially since I'm going through Emma right now, I feel like I am sort of paying attention to her character very specifically. And I was in a chat last week with some Jasna members, and we were talking about the character of Emma. And it was just one of those things where they said, oh, she's so selfish, she's so spoiled. And I really felt the opposite. Like, yes, she is those things, but I don't think she's only those things.
Mm.
And so often I feel like people nowadays, they mention the quote that Jane Austen wrote her because it was going to be the only character she would like. Other people wouldn't like her. Like she wrote her with that intention. Um, and I just think that that's maybe Jane Austen being a little bit of her satirical self, where
Absolutely.
she, right, like she wants you to like Emma. That isn't an excuse not to like her. So Emma's number 3 for me.
I think it was a bit tongue-in-cheek in her meaning of no one else was going to like Emma.
Mhm.
Marigold, where do you rank her?
She's actually my number 3 as well. I like her also for the change. Like a lot of people would say for Elizabeth, I see the same for her. I like she was her own person. She stuck, but then she developed and grew and matured as she went throughout the book. And at the end, she's not a completely different person, but I don't know, it's like a better version of herself and more open. And I find her a likable character too.
It's interesting too to look at, so often we talk about, they're a middle child or the youngest or the oldest. And I think Emma, if you're putting Elizabeth Bennet and Emma side by side and thinking like they're about the same age, but Elizabeth feels so much older and mature to me than Emma feels so spoiled and childlike kind of at the beginning of when we see her. I have her at number 6 in my list. So I have her way down the list. I just find her hard to connect with as a character. There's nothing that I do think she has a great story arc, and I love Emma. But I just find she can be a bit of a spoiled child kind of way that she comes across to me in a lot of things, and her kind of controlling of Harriet, and it's a bit harder for me to fall in love with Emma, even though I do enjoy her character very much. But sorry, guys, she was much lower on the list for me. All right, next we have Catherine Morland from Northanger Abbey. I'm really excited, Mindy, to hear your thoughts on this one, since we always kind of are at odds about Northanger. And Marigold,
Okay.
of course, I'm excited to hear your thoughts as well. But
So I know that I have talked about my feelings about Henry Tilney, but I actually feel completely the opposite about Catherine Morland. I adore her. For me, she's number 4 because I feel like she represents this innocence, that maybe it's just me or maybe most people go through that stage. But when I was the age she is in the book, I was rather innocent myself and very easily fell in love with someone who showed me attention, So when you talk about being unable to relate to Emma, I actually feel like I am able to relate to Catherine. And that's why I want better for her, because I just I love her so much.
That's why you say this. Oh, Marigold, how do you feel about Catherine?
She was like 4 or 5 for me. I'd give her a 4. I feel the same. I feel like she's more misunderstood because she's very innocent. And I think she's mistaken for that being very green. And I think being younger, I felt more like her, and being like at awe of the world and everything. You take everything so serious, or so people tell you, and you're like believe everything. So I think she's also a little bit misunderstood. But I gave her number 4 on my list.
I also have her at number 4. So we kind of came in agreement on that one as well. I just don't think there's anything to not like about Catherine. I mean, she's full of wonder and sense of adventure. I think a lot of younger girls can see themselves in Catherine, and just, her desire to fall in love. She wants to meet kind of Prince Charming sort of vibes about her. And I think she handles her life lessons well too. We kind of never see her being petulant about them. She just kind of is very go with the flow. Maybe it's a oldest daughter sort of thing that makes Catherine a bit more relatable for some people, but I do find her to be fun.
You know what else I love about Catherine is when we get into the whole Gothic part where she gets to Northanger Abbey and she spends that one night absolutely terrified. She's like lying in bed and she's terrified and she doesn't want to look over the edge of her bed. I tell you what, I am a wildly superstitious person, so I can fully relate to everything she goes through. Those, where she's looking in the chest for things and she finds the scrolls, and I get it. I think, if someone were going to write fan fiction and they were diving into that whole cozy mystery piece, like you mentioned before, I think she is just a fantastic heroine to throw in to that world.
Absolutely. I agree. All right, next we have Lady Susan Vernon, who we talked a bit about last week. It's fun to see Lady Susan back. How do we feel about her? Where are we ranking her?
Go ahead.
I don't know. I'm confused, like either 5 or 6, but I would say maybe a 6 for her. She wasn't my favorite. I think she's witty and I think she's clever, but as a main female, I don't like the trickery.
Melissa, what do you think?
I have her at number 3 just because I feel like after the story is done, like somehow she has this amazing story arc and she redeems herself and she uses all her wiles for good. And she goes on to be like an amazing grandmother. It's just hard to not be captivated by her. I wouldn't say it's necessarily I put her that high because I love her character, who she is, of her makeup, but I think she's just the character of her is so interesting to read. So I find there's like so many levels of her, who she is, what she trying to figure out. She's very complex, I guess is where I'm trying to go with it. And I appreciate that about her. How about you, Mindy?
She's my number 2.
Oh, that is a surprise.
Yeah. I really enjoyed reading Lady Susan a couple of weeks ago and then diving into Love and Friendship, the film. And for all of the reasons both of you mentioned, I just think we Janeites do not talk about Lady Susan nearly enough. Maybe because it's a novella, maybe because it's the letter writing style. I really don't know. But I think that she's such a unique character as far as Austen's works are concerned. She almost is the villain, right? Like, yes, she's our protagonist, but she has that villainous nature. So number 2 for me. I like her.
If somebody wanted to write a fan fiction and have Caroline Bingley come under the tutelage of Lady Vernon, like that would just be amazing.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, that would be hilarious. All right, we have Eleanor Dashwood from Sense and Sensibility. Marigold, where is she at for you?
She is. Where did I put? Now I forgot where I put her. Oh, I think I put her in the wrong spot. So she would probably be 5.
I had her the same also. Why did you put her at 5?
This one is like I haven't seen it or read it for a while, so I may have to go back. I know I remember the movie, but I think I need to go back to see what the book was more in depth. Yeah. And I think I just get the 2 sisters are just so much together that like I not that I switch them, but I don't know. I need to go back on that one.
Yeah. And Mindy, how about for you?
Oh, so actually, Marigold, I want to say before I forget, that's actually the reason I put both Eleanor and Marianne in the photo. Like everybody else, I, cropped out, so they're just by themselves. But I did put the sisters here together because while I feel Eleanor is the main character, it's just as much Marianne's story. So I understand where it can be a little bit back and forth and confusing. But for me, Eleanor and Marianne are number 7.
Ooh, that's another surprise. Mindy, you're just coming in with all the mix-ups in your rankings here. And why did they end up at number 7?
Well, just for me, if I am going to read Sensibility or watch it, I always feel a little bit weepy and moody because I do feel like that is the tone of the novel, where these women are put into a horrible situation where they're not, their brother and more or less their sister-in-law, right? sticks them off off somewhere else and gives them very little money to live upon, and they have to with their younger sister as well. So there's 4 women in the house, and I just feel like they're in a very, very difficult situation, and then their their love lives are just messy, messy, messy. And so I end up feeling sorry for them most of the time, and I feel like Mary or Eleanor is not the Spitfire that some of the other Austen characters are. And so throughout her novel, you keep wanting her to step up and say something and be assertive and, just make things happen for herself. And I don't really feel like she ever gets there. So Eleanor's 7 on my list.
There's a lot of times you do want to shake her and just say, like, you need to have a little bit of Marianne in you, and Marianne, you need to have a little Eleanor in you. I really like the contrast. I completely understand what you're saying about their characters. It is funny how they're so opposite that you just wish they could find the balance within each other. It's like, team up and find your balance between the two of you. I did want to say we have sorry to cover you up, Mindy. Caroline left a comment and says, I love Lady Susan. Jane was fantastic at crafting characters you like and dislike at the same time. That is so true. They all have things that you admire about them, and in the same way, things that absolutely drive you crazy and you're yelling at the pages as you're turning them. All right, we have Fanny Price from Mansfield Park. Poor Fanny. I feel like she gets kind of forgotten sometimes. Marigold, where do you have Fanny ranking?
She's my number 7. I'm just not that she isn't a great character, but I feel like she's more of a like quiet, alone, like again, as you said, like not people would forget about her. I don't think she's as a bold character, and she does get forgotten. And I just not a huge fan of Mansfield Park, so there's a lot of people that love that, but it's just not one of my favorites. So I wasn't thrilled with her character because she wasn't as bold or outgoing as
you have a type.
Yeah.
You like the bold characters. Also had her at number 7 because I do want her to I like the characters to take some action, be bold, do something. And I guess Fanny, the interesting thing is, in her own way, she is quiet in her actions that she takes. She is bold in certain things. Just not in an Elizabeth Bennet sort of way bold. But Fanny definitely has her merits for sure. You're making me feel like I need to do a Mansfield Park reread because it's been a while and it's hard to remember all the details of Fanny in her character. Mindy, how do you feel and where did you rank her?
Fanny is number 6 for me. So I am close with you both on that. But for me, I really like Fanny not because she's so rigid and strict, but because she has a moral code and she sticks to it.
Yeah.
And she doesn't waver. In the beginning of the story, we have the idea that the others all want to participate in this play, and even Edmund, who is a clergyman, he's all about participating in lovers' vows. This is something they're into, but she's very reluctant to join in the fun and games because she knows that it wouldn't be appropriate, especially this play and this material. And even in the end, when she could marry Henry Crawford and have an easier life, maybe she just doesn't, because that's not where her heart belongs. And so while I said before, I love seeing that change, for me, I think it's actually a comfort to see Fanny, who has this nice, even keel, and she stays there and she won't let someone drag her down, even if it would make life easier for her.
Yeah, absolutely. As we're talking through them, I can kind of see Eleanor and Fanny might be friends and get along well with each other, very steadfast in their character and stick to their moral code in a way that we don't see the others. Maybe we don't see them as challenged in their moral code as the two of them are, which is really interesting. So anyone that's joining us, again, feel free to leave your list of picks in the comments and we'll have fun reading through those. And also let us know where you're joining us from this evening as we're going through Jane Austen's leading ladies. So we have Anne Elliot from Persuasion, and I had to kind of chuckle to myself that you picked this photo, Mindy.
I did it for you.
You figured it. I did notice it right away. I appreciated it. No one else probably does whatsoever. But Marigold, where did you have Anne in your rankings?
She is my number 2 because Persuasion is my favorite story. I think I identify with her the most, so she's always right up there as my favorite. But not enjoying not as quick or witted as Elizabeth, so that's why Elizabeth was number 1. But Anne Elliot is she's one of those quiet heroines or quiet leads, and she's very internal, and I feel like that's more my speed at this time in my life too. So it kind of goes with it. But I do enjoy that she is one that has some wit, and she does kind of keep it to herself, but puts it out there. You can kind of see this little bit once in a while that I think there's this little spark, but she doesn't let out. So I enjoy it.
Yes. I also had her at 2. There's just so much to admire about Anne's character. Her dedication to her friend, the way that she handles situations, just seeing her long-lasting love for Wentworth, even though he's not there anymore. And also, I think in an odd way, I kind of admire her acceptance of situations. I don't really get the impression that Anne's bitter at what life has dealt her. She just takes it in stride as it goes and kind of tries to find her own way in life in the ways that she can with the limitations that she has in her life. But I feel like she would be the friend that still kind of tries to find the glass half full in most situations. And I really like that about her. And Mindy, how about for you? Where does Anne rank?
For me, Anne is number 5. Yeah, she, like Eleanor, I spend so much time feeling sorry for Anne. And so it makes me have a difficulty with connecting to her. The last time I read Persuasion, there were multiple places where I cried, just out of nowhere. I kind of felt like I just started crying. And one of them happens, kind of towards the beginning of the story when Captain Wentworth comes back to town and he's spending time with the other girls, and she's watching it. She's watching him have these flirtations with other women, and she knows that it wasn't her choice to be without him. And I think that's so tragic, and there's so much that I want for her. I want better for her. But of course, that's how the story unfolds. But up until then, I just keep hoping and praying for good things for Anne. And I feel like she sort of sits back and just takes it all in to her little heart, and probably spends a lot of time crying too. So, I imagine.
That's why she needs that pet rabbit that she has.
Oh, geez.
Everyone's wondering where the pet rabbit. Why she needs it. It's her emotional support animal. That's why. Oh my goodness. Well, I think we've made it through all of our rankings. That was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed doing that and seeing how different we are in the way that we see the characters and how we rank them through the story. So let me remove this from the stage, and then I can't believe how quick the time flew already. So it's been 30 minutes, but we're going to get through at least watching Miss Austen so we can just see what this is all about together. And I think I have to jump over to the YouTube page. I don't know if I'm going to disappear because the first time I've done this sharing. We will see what happens together. All right, can you guys still see me? Am I here?
Mm-hmm.
All right, I'm going to press play, and then I'll jump on over, and it's only 25 seconds long, so watch carefully.
I am not ready to let my beloved sister Cassie go.
Jane Austen, you're saddled with me forever.
Your sister understood affairs of the heart better than anyone.
She warrants a substantial biography where we might discover the real Jane Austen.
Did you find any letters from Jane?
Not a single one. There is no greater comfort in this world than the sister.
Okay. So what did we all think about that? It is very fast, isn't it? It's hard to kind of process what's happening with it.
I have
Yes.
to hurry up and read the book.
Oh, yes. The book was so good. I enjoyed it immensely.
Yes. Yeah. I think I'm due for a reread. So maybe we can make that happen and we can chat about it on here as we read through. We can make it part of the community to read. But I really like the cinematography. Feels like it's going to have great vibes to it. I think that's going to be fun. And yeah, I'm hoping, I'm guessing they'll release a few more trailers before it comes out. I don't remember. We talked about it previously when it was set to release. Is it April?
I feel like it's May. First week in May, maybe.
So we've still got a little time. Yeah.
One thing that struck me is that in my head, I suppose I considered Cassandra looking older. She's not old, of course, by the time the book was written, but I definitely thought she would look a little bit older than they have shown there. Although maybe that's because the scenes were mostly with Jane, so it was the flashback sequences. I don't know.
Yeah,
I'd have to watch it again.
I know, we're gonna have to kind of go through it. Maybe we'll watch it, chat with each other, and then next week when we come back on, we'll have some more thoughts about it, since that's the first time that we're kind of seeing it and processing it. I'm sure we'll notice some little things if we freeze on some of the shots as well. It's gonna be fun to see it. I can't wait for it to release, and we'll definitely be watching that when it comes out and chatting about it even more.
Absolutely.
I also wanted to take a second and thank Kylie, who joined the community over on Patreon this week. That's super exciting. We are reading, I have my copy here, so let me grab it without dumping all my other books. But we have First Impressions that we are reading for this month's book club. I have been getting messages from everyone that they're finishing it and they're loving it and they want to talk about it. And I have not started, so I need to get started on it so that I can chat about it. But it seems like you two have both finished it now, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So it seems like it was like a little bit, you weren't sure what was going on, and then it wraps itself up from what I was getting from your group text, and it makes sense. Perfect. Also, if you hop on over, if you are in the community space, I added a book club kit that the publisher had with some questions and answers from the author, so you can see a little bit about that, and then some questions that you might see pop up when we do our book club discussion about it. I think that wraps us up for this evening. I had so much fun, as always, to chat about Austen. If you all have any ideas of topics that you'd like us to talk about, we are more than happy for you to leave them in the comments. And we want to talk about what you want to talk about, which is Austen and books and any new things that are coming up for 2025, because there's so much happening in the world of Jane Austen. So wishing everyone a great morning, afternoon, evening, whatever time it is that you're watching. Stay cozy, keep a book by your side, and we will see you next week for more conversations and more tea. Marigold, I saw you also drinking some tea.
Oh, yes. That kind of weather.
Mindy's just cozy.
That's it.
All right, we'll see you all next week. Take care. Bye.
Bye.